Over the past 6 months, there has been one question I find myself being asked again and again and again. Is 76 worth playing yet? The question isn't always phrased exactly that way, but it's always the same general idea. People wanting someone else to tell them if they will enjoy something. When I phrase it that way, you can probably work out why I'm making a whole video around this, rather than just giving a simple yes or no answer. Different people enjoy different games for different reasons. For this reason, I can't tell you as an individual if you will enjoy Fallout 76 in its current state. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of you watching this, and, for the vast majority, I know nothing about you. I can't tell you what you will enjoy, but I can show you why you might enjoy something. In this video, I will attempt to answer if 76 is worth playing by showing you a variety of different ways you can play the game, and letting you decide for yourself what the answer to that question is. Before I do that though, there are a couple of quick things to cover. First up, I will be assuming throughout this video that you're all somewhat familiar with Fallout 76, be it through having played the game before or simply having watched a decent amount of footage of the game, so I'm not going to be explaining the basics of what 76 is. Secondly, that you accept that I simply won't be able to talk extensively about bugs, glitches, and stability in this video. I was planning to talk on the subject, and had several paragraphs drafted up, but honestly, it's just too boring a subject to go over. Yes, there are bugs, yes, there are glitches, and yes, there are sometimes crashes or freezes. Personally, I find most of these to be pretty minor for the most part, and the game is constantly being worked on, so depending on when you watch the video, the issues could have improved or got worse. I really don't know. On to something I actually can talk about now, the different ways you can play Fallout 76. And to be clear, this won't be a discussion on the different builds people play, you should play the builds you enjoy. Simple as that. Instead, it's a look at different ways to approach the game, starting with a fairly conventional one, completing quests, events, and other developer-created content. Chances are most of you watching have at least completed the main quest of Fallout 76, so I won't even go over that. What I will mention instead are a variety of quests you may have overlooked, decided against completing, or just never heard about. First up, one questline that has been in the game since launch, the Mistress of Mysteries. To start these quests, all you need to do is find a female corpse wearing a black and green dress and loot them. That's a lot darker when you say it out loud, but in the game it's perfectly normal. Apparently there's 20 of these dead women lying around the forest, Ashheap and Savage Divide, so find one of them, then head to Riverside Manor to start your journey. The rewards from the half dozen or so quests you'll be given do include a handful of unique items, however none of them are particularly strong. Instead, the whole reason I recommend this is for the story and lore, as it's some that still sticks in my head, despite having completed the quest about a year back now. I won't talk any more about this as I don't want to give any spoilers, so let's instead move on to the unsolved quests. And by that I don't mean quests you haven't done, I mean quests which start with the word unsolved. These are 4 separate quests you can uncover by going to the Vanlo Taxidermy or train station notice boards and reading notes that are pinned up. Each one is a relatively short mystery where you uncover what happened to certain individuals pre-war. Each is a fun little bite-sized quest which are ideal for short play sessions. Finally, for quests, I want to recommend the Treasure of Appalachia. This is a completely unmarked and untracked quest that was added into the game a few months back. In fact, to call it a quest at all is somewhat deceiving, as it won't show up in your quest log and there are no tangible rewards for completing it. Instead, it's a sneak peek at what is to come and the discovery of a highly important unmarked location. If you want to start this adventure, then you'll need to head to the pawn shop in Grafton. If you get stuck at any point during this quest, then I have made a video showcasing my entire completion of the unmarked escapade. It will be linked in the description for those of you wishing to follow in my steps. As well as quests, there are events, which I personally feel are the lifeblood of the game. Despite this, I really don't have much to add about them. They're fun enough, but nothing too special. More than anything, they just give you stuff to get on with as you move about the map, and I really appreciate that. Something else I appreciate are friends. Although that sentiment is somewhat tarnished by the fact I technically just called them things. Regardless, Fallout 76 is a multiplayer game, and that means you can jump in and play the game with others. It's a near universal rule that everything is more fun with friends. Even if you don't have many friends playing the game, the whole multiplayer aspect does open a world of possibilities, as you can experience scenarios or situations that other people have constructed. In my case, I came across a strip club whilst travelling around with Inoff Survivalist. Probably should explain that whole situation a bit more. Semra had told me to jump into the server she was on, as about a dozen players had all grouped up in a camp, and we were just hanging out with each other and novelling at the fact so many players were chilling together. The group slowly drifted to different camps until we found this one, where the player had built themselves a strip club. There was one problem I noticed when I travelled here though. Nobody was naked. I quickly stripped, jumped up on stage, and started strutting my stuff in a display so sexy that it froze the game. After the freeze, it seemed almost everyone had become inspired to also become strippers, and we all ended up on stage, dancing for one another, playing music, and even getting together for a group photo. This was one of the coolest interactions I've had with the community, and really shows the fun you can have by just wandering around and finding other players. Personally, I do play solo the vast majority of the time, but even I enjoy occasionally grouping up with friends. Every once in a while, I'll team up with people from the Discord just to enjoy ourselves for the evening. Admittedly, most of the times I play in a team is when I fancy a few matches of Nuclear Winter, so I should probably talk about the next point, PvP. When it comes to player versus player combat, there's two ways to go about it. You can play Nuclear Winter, the Battle Royale mode where everyone starts out on relatively level footing. Or you can try and start up a PvP encounter in Adventure mode, where griefers have bought or duped the best gear to one-shot anyone they come across. Alright, so it's pretty obvious that I'm not a fan of Adventure mode PvP. Personally, I think it should be removed from the mode entirely, as it just seems to be helping out griefers more than actually adding a rewarding way for legitimate players to play the game. That being said, I'm sure there are people out there who do just want a friendly fight. So, if you're one of these people, my advice would be to search for others who share the same desire, and politely ask them for a bout of Adventure Mode PvP. As long as all parties involved are on the same page, you should all be able to enjoy yourselves without having to resort to griefing. Despite what you may think, I actually do quite like competitive player versus player gameplay, as long as it's on relatively even footing. For that reason, I'll occasionally jump into Nuclear Winter, the Battle Royale mode. I'll get together with friends or followers on Discord, jump in as a team, and see how many matches we can win. The general skill level isn't ludicrously high, so if you can get a team of any skill level together, then you should have at least a decent chance of placing near the top. Unfortunately, there are occasionally hackers that appear, especially on PC, but the more legit players that are playing, the less an impact the hackers have. The final way to play I'm going to cover in this video is a world away from the others. If you don't have a group to play with, have no interest in competitive play, and have got tired of the same old events, then I recommend looking into virtual photography. Fallout 76 comes with one of the best photo modes I've seen in any game I've played. It has various features while still being easy to use, meaning that even if you've never played around with photo modes in games before, you should be able to try this one out with ease. On screen you'll have been seeing a variety of photos I've taken inside of a game, and I've barely touched the surface. Taking photos for your own enjoyment is all well and good, but if you do want to share your images, there's a few places you can do so. I personally have a Discord server with a channel for images called Pwitty Pwitches, where I'm happy to see people share in-game photos. Sites like Instagram and Twitter can also be great for sharing your images. Use the Fallout 76 and virtual photography hashtags to help people find your photos easier. If you really want them to get noticed, then you might also want to take a look at Around Appalachia, Bethesda's regular themed photo mode competition. Check what the current theme is, share your images with the Fallout 76 hashtag, and get a chance for someone at Bethesda to select them and show them off. Really, this is something I want to start doing more often, just taking photos in 76, sharing them on Twitter, and seeing if people like them. For my very best photos though, they end up as wallpapers over at patreon.com/badcompanysarge. Oh yeah, we've just segued into a Patreon plug. If you do want to have access to dozens of custom video game wallpapers I've made for both phones and PCs, then please do check out my Patreon page, link in the description. Becoming a patron keeps the channel running, so a huge thank you to all of my current patrons. If you're not able to support financially, then that's fine. You can still subscribe, click the like button, and share any of my videos you enjoy to help support and just keep things going. Or you can do none of those things. It really is your choice. Regardless, it's about time to wrap up the video. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.